Welcome once again in the Diplomatic Lounge. In today's episode, I want to comment on the term and the idea of genocide. This word has almost become fashionable in many emotional comments on the war between Israel and Hamas. But I hope to explain why we have to be careful with the term. In my professional life, I came close to genocidal situations various times. I was a remote witness to the Rwandan genocide because I was working at the United Nations while the UN peacekeeping force failed there. I knew of the instances of ethnic cleansing during the Balkan Wars in the 90s, a somewhat milder form of the same evil, one could say. The one time when I was physically close to what was often termed genocide was in the late 1980s in the extreme west of the Sudan, the infamous region of Darfur. Now, looking at the situations in Darfur, what I saw and what my conclusion was, the tensions there were certainly considerable and often bloody, were mostly caused by competition for land and water between herders and sedentary agriculturists. As it happened, most of the cattle people were nomadic Arabs, and most of the sedentary agriculturalists were black Africans, many of them refugees from the neighboring Central African Republic. And my conclusion was that in that instance, at least, the term genocide in its strict meaning, the systematic and planned eradication of ethnic groups, was unjustified. Now, I have already various times stated in these conferences that unfortunately I consider the United Nations a failure as a political and peacekeeping organization. But the UN still has a very important role to play as a norm setter, and precisely in issues of human rights, including the development of international criminal law. And obviously, the crime of genocide is the worst crime that should be judged internationally, if possible. For that very reason, we have to be careful that we don't term situations genocide that do not correspond to an exact legal definition, because if we ever want to develop an international criminal law that can be upheld and can help to prevent such crimes in the future, you have to look at them from a legal point of view and not from an emotional point of view, which is not easy in these situations, but it's necessary. Genocide is one of the crimes to be judged by the International Criminal Court, which is in existence, but still by far not accepted universally. Unfortunately, I have to say the United States withdrew from the International Criminal Court, and I was the witness of that withdrawal when the US ambassador in Brussels came to announce it. And so, not just the US, but others still fight back against this very important development for the international community. As far as the US is concerned, it's not the only instance where US diplomacy has fought back against multilateral developments. I live the same regarding the treaty banning the use of personal mines and the treaty against the commerce of small arms. In many instances, the great powers do not want international legal systems to develop beyond a certain point, because that clashes with their domestic and other interests. Again, when we heard the term genocide used so often, it tends to banalize it, and that is the last thing we want to do. It's one more phenomenon of the present situation where lots of opinions are heard, are spread by social media and otherwise, and the risk we run is that these ideas and these unfounded opinions create a kind of universal propaganda state where the truth is always hidden behind fake news and wrong opinions defended by people that are not really qualified to spread those. And that is something that we have to be very well aware of. So is the present situation in Palestine to be called genocide or not? I would be very reluctant to say so. First of all, this is still a developing situation. Whatever the evils from all sides, we have to look at root causes and sequences of events, and it's going to be very difficult to judge these in the short term. So I think, again, we have to look at this from a legal, more than an emotional point of view, to form an opinion. Will that happen or not? I don't know. First of all, the dust will have to settle, the war will have to be over, and then responsibilities will have to be established. A long and difficult process, but again, it's a field where the United Nations and other international organizations still have a very important role to play as norm setters and as defenders of basic rights, even when they are powerless to bring short-term political solutions. Again, let's think about these issues and see you again at the next opportunity. Thank you.